0, 1. Let's get started.
Welcome back to the Reinvention Room. I'm Mel, and I'm so glad you're here with me today. Before we get into it, I do want to say if you're listening to this on a walk or in your car, or if you're folding clothes, folding laundry at 11 o'clock at night, because that's the only time that you get to yourself, I see you. And I made this one just for you. Today, the topic is a little uncomfortable, I'm not going to lie. But I think it's a good conversation to have because I think it's something that we all do and we don't even notice it. Have you ever wanted something so badly? I mean, so bad, and then somehow you got in your own way? You know what I'm talking about? Maybe you wanted to lose weight, and you did good for a long time, maybe a few months, and then you looked at yourself in the mirror and you're like, oh wow, I look really good, and just started eating again the things that you weren't supposed to be eating. And then a few months passed and you look back in the mirror again and now you gained some weight again. All that work that you did. Maybe you wanted to leave a situation that wasn't good for you and you knew it wasn't good for you and you still kept going back. Been there, done that. Maybe you wanted to start a business, write a book, launch a podcast, ask for a promotion, go back to school. There's so many things, right? But every single time you got close, that little voice inside of you gave you a reason to wait one more season. If that's you, I need you to hear this. You're not broken. You're not lazy. You're not the only one. And here's the thing. I don't think the right question is, what's wrong with me? Because I think that question just keeps us stuck in shame, and shame has never once helped anybody change. I think the better question is, why do I keep sabotaging the life I say I want? Let's talk about it. Here's something I've come to believe pretty deeply. I don't think most people wake up and just want to sabotage their life, right? Nobody's out here thinking, I want to keep doing the same thing that gets me into these situations that I don't want, or that keeps me stuck, or that keeps me coming back to this toxic relationship, or that keeps me from writing that book, or keeps me from living the life that I want. I don't think anybody wakes up thinking that. I think what actually happens is way sneakier than that. I think we underestimate just how powerful the familiar is. I mean, this literally, this is just how our brains work. Our minds love certainty. They are wired for it. And here's the kicker. They'll take certainty over comfort every single time, even when that certainty is painful. Sit with that for a second. Even when the certain thing is the painful thing, our brain will often choose it over the unknown thing just because it's known. Even if it makes your life better, even if it makes you more comfortable. Think about how that shows up in our own life. We complain about our circumstances, the job, the relationship, the body, the bank account, whatever it is, we complain. And then at night, we dream about a completely different life. We can see it. We can practically taste it. But then something shifts. The moment change actually starts to become real, like real, not just a nice idea, something inside us whispers, you know what? Maybe tomorrow. Maybe I'm not ready yet. Maybe I should wait. Now, look, sometimes those reasons are legitimate. I'm not going to sit here and tell you every single hesitation is fear in disguise. Sometimes, it really does matter. Sometimes you do need to wait and save some money first, or just wait until the moment is right. But sometimes, if you're honest with yourself, you already know which one this is for you. Sometimes those reasons they're just fear. And it's wearing a really convincing disguise. Here's something I've been sitting with a lot lately, and I think it's the heart of today's episode. Just because something is familiar doesn't mean it's healthy. For example, some people grow up around criticism, right? Somebody was always finding a flaw, always pointing out what wasn't good enough. And now, as an adult, when somebody gives them a genuine compliment, it feels wrong. It feels fake. And they deflect it. They explain it away, and, they just can't say thank you and let it land. It feels uncomfortable because it's not familiar. Some people grow up around chaos, yelling, unpredictability, never knowing which version of a parent was walking through the door. And so now, when their life is actually calm, it feels off. Something in them starts looking for the disaster that hasn't happened yet, waiting for the other shoe to drop. Because quiet doesn't feel safe. It feels like the moment right before something bad happens. And some people spend years, maybe even decades, believing deep down that they weren't enough. They're not smart enough. They're not pretty enough. Not disciplined enough. Not lucky enough. And so when success actually starts knocking on their door, they don't answer it. They pretend they're not home. Not because they don't want success. They want it so badly it hurts. But because success doesn't match the story they've been telling themselves for years. And when reality and the story don't match, most of us, without even realizing it, will bend reality to fit the story. Because the story feels like home, even when the story is really a prison. It keeps us trapped. This, I think, is where self-sabotage actually begins. Not in willpower, not in discipline. It begins here. We don't just protect our habits. We protect our identity. Let me say that again because I think it's the whole episode in one sentence. We don't just protect our habits. We protect our identity. If you spend 20 years believing you're the person who always struggles, who always has bad luck, who always gets the short end of the stick, then who are you without that story? That story has been your explanation for everything. It's been your excuse, for sure, but it's also been your identity. And letting go of an identity, even a painful one, feels like a kind of death. If you've always been the one who puts everyone else first, the fixer, the one who shows up, the one who never asks for help, then who are you when you finally choose yourself? What happens to all those relationships that you built around you being available for everyone all the time? That question alone is enough to make someone quietly step back from their own healing. Here's what I really want you to hear. Sometimes we're not actually afraid of failing. We say that. We tell ourselves that. But sometimes the real fear underneath is that we're afraid of succeeding. Because success means meeting a version of ourselves we have never met before. A stranger, if you will. Someone with no track record yet. And that's scary. It's genuinely scary. Because even good change feels unfamiliar. Even the life you've been praying for will feel at first like it doesn't quite fit, right? Like a new pair of shoes before you've broken them in. It's uncomfortable. So, what do we actually do with this? Here's what I want to try, and here's what I want you to try. The next time we catch ourselves saying, you know what, I'll start Monday. Stop. Stop right there. Don't let the sentence finish on autopilot. Stop and ask yourself one question. What am I really afraid of? Not the polite answer. Not the answer that sounds good if somebody else was listening. The honest one. The one you'd only say out loud if nobody else was in the room. Am I afraid I'll fail at this? Or, and this is the one that catches people off guard, am I afraid that I'll actually succeed? And then I'll have to become someone new, someone I don't recognize yet. That one question, asked honestly, can change absolutely everything. Because once you can name the real fear, it loses a lot of its grip on you. Fear that stays nameless in the back of your mind runs the whole show. Fear that gets pulled out into the light and named, that fear you can actually work with. So now I want to be really clear about something, because I don't want you leaving this episode thinking you need to overhaul your entire life by Thursday. You don't have to reinvent your whole life today. That's not the assignment. The assignment is much smaller and much more doable. You just have to stop making decisions that keep introducing you to the same old version of yourself. That's it. One decision at a time. One honest conversation you've been avoiding. One application you submit instead of just thinking about it for the 100th time. One workout you actually show up for. One boundary you finally hold, even when your voice shakes a little when you say it. One episode recorded. Trust me, I know something about that one. The page written. One decision. That is how new identities get built. Not in some giant dramatic movie moment leap. In repeated, unglamorous, everyday choices that nobody's clapping for. You don't wake up one day as a completely different person. You become that person. One day at a time. One decision at a time. And then somewhere along the way, you look back and you realize, without a single firework, that you actually became her. So if today's episode spoke to you, and I have a feeling for some of you, it really did, I want you to hold on to this one thing. The life you want is not waiting for you on the other side of becoming perfect. It never was. Perfect was never the price of admission. It's on the other side of becoming willing. Willing to be uncomfortable for a while. Willing to be seen, even before you feel ready to be seen. Willing to outgrow the version of yourself that used to fit, but doesn't anymore. Because here's the truth I want to leave you with. Maybe you're not sabotaging your future at all. Maybe that's the wrong word for what's happening here right now. Maybe you're just in the process of learning how to trust it. And that takes time. Give yourself time. Give yourself grace. Say what you mean and mean what you say, especially to yourself. Thank you so much for spending time and space here with me today. Remember, fall in love with your life, and I'll see you next time in the Reinvention Room.